What returns is no longer truly the woman she once was. So in the war-torn Riverlands, after all the chaos of the war, these whispers start to spread. They say there's a new kind of justice out there. A silent, terrifying figure is leading a band of outlaws, and their verdicts? Well, they're always the same: death by hanging.
All right, so today we are diving into one of the absolute darkest secrets from the A Song of Ice and Fire books. This is a chilling story of grief and revenge that if you only watched the show, you never got to see. We're talking about the real story, the truth about Catelyn Stark.
But see, to understand this ghost that's haunting the Riverlands, you can't just start there. We have to go back. We have to remember the woman she was. We've got to start with the mother of Winterfell.
So who was Catelyn Stark? Well, she was born a Tully of Riverrun, and her whole life was defined by things like duty and family honor. But really, when you boil it all down, she was, above all else, a mother. Every single choice she made, every fear, every mistake, it all came from this fierce, almost primal need to protect her kids.
And man, her life just became this relentless chain of tragedy, one thing after another. I mean, think about it. First, her betrothed, Brandon Stark, is murdered, so she has to marry his brother Ned. Then her son, Bran, gets pushed from a tower, and an assassin comes to finish the job. In a panic, she arrests Tyrion Lannister, which basically just pours gasoline on the fire that's about to become a full-blown war. And then, the absolute worst happens. Ned is executed in King's Landing. All of a sudden, her world is shattered, and she's left trying to advise her son, Robb, who's just a kid, really, trying to be the king in the North.
And this is what's so tragic about her, you know? You look at her choices, and they often make total emotional sense. I mean, freeing Jaime Lannister, she was just a desperate mother trying to get her daughters back. Who can't understand that? But in the brutal Game of Thrones, in the reality of Westeros, those choices were, well, they were catastrophic. They completely undermined Robb's war effort. Some people even called it treason.
So this whole chain of grief, all these desperate choices, it's all leading somewhere. It's leading her and the entire Northern Army to one single horrifying event: a wedding. A wedding that would go down in history not for its celebration, but for its blood.
So what kicks it all off? A broken promise. Her son, Robb, breaks a marriage pact he made with House Frey. And if you know anything about Walder Frey, you know that's a huge insult. Catelyn is terrified. She knows this is bad. So, to try and fix things, they all travel to the twins for a different wedding. And they think they're safe, right? They're protected by guest right, this sacred law that says you can't harm a guest under your roof. It's one of the oldest rules in Westeros.
Of course, it's a trap. The Red Wedding is just a complete, soul-crushing betrayal. You can just imagine the horror. The music changes to the Rains of Castamere, the doors are barred shut, and the slaughter begins. And Catelyn, she's forced to watch it all. She sees the Northern cause get completely wiped out, she sees her friends murdered, and then she sees her own son, Robb, killed right in front of her eyes. In that final moment, something inside her just breaks completely.
Her own end is just as brutal. They cut her throat, and as one last insult, they throw her body into the river, just discarded like refuse. And that should be it, right? In any other story, this is the end. A tragic, horrifying, but final end.
But this isn't any other story. This is where her political tragedy twists into something else. It becomes a dark, supernatural horror story. We're about to see what happens with something called the Kiss of Fire.
So days go by. Her body is pulled from the river by the Brotherhood Without Banners. Now their leader is this guy, Beric Dondarrion, and he's barely a man anymore. He's been brought back from the dead so many times, but every time he comes back, he loses a little piece of himself. A memory here, a feeling there. He's like a flickering candle, barely holding on to the person he used to be.
And what happens next? It's not a miracle. It's more like a dark, unholy transaction. Beric looks at Catelyn's corpse. And I mean, it's been in the water for days. It's swollen, damaged, just ruined. And he gives her what they call the kiss of life. He literally transfers his own life force, that little flame keeping him alive, into her. And in that act, Beric Dondarrion dies for the last and final time, and Catelyn Stark rises.
But the thing that gets up from that riverbank, it's not Catelyn. Not really. Everything she was, her love, her sense of duty, any scrap of mercy she had, it's all been burned away. What's left is something else. Her grief
has literally become a weapon. She is no longer Catelyn Stark. From now on, she's known only by a new name, a name that tells you everything you need to know about what she's become. Lady Stoneheart.
So let's just break that down. This isn't just a change. It's a complete corruption of everything she was. The Catelyn, who was defined by duty and family, gone. Replaced by a creature that only understands vengeance. That powerful mother's love, it's now just a cold, hollow memory that fuels her hate. Her flawed mercy has been replaced by, well, merciless justice. And her human grief, it's curdled into this monstrous, inhuman rage that never, ever sleeps.
And she looks the part, too. It's horrifying. Her skin is pale and corpse-like. Her face is ruined. And because of her wound, she can barely speak. She has to cover the gash in her throat just to make this awful, rasping sound. She immediately takes over the Brotherhood, and their original mission? Forget it. Now it's her personal hit squad, hunting down anyone with any connection, no matter how small, to the Freys, the Lannisters, or the Boltons. And her method is always the same: hanging.
And that's really the whole point of her character, isn't it? She is the walking, talking proof that revenge doesn't fix anything. It won't bring her family back. It doesn't restore what was lost. All it does is destroy what's left of you. Lady Stoneheart isn't some avenging hero ending the cycle of violence from the Red Wedding. She is the Red Wedding. She's its ghost, making sure the horror and the killing never, ever stops.
And that's why leaving her out of the TV show was such a massive change. On screen, Catelyn's story ends. It's awful, it's tragic, but it's over. In the books, her real tragedy is that she doesn't get to die. She's forced to keep going, but as this monster, she's a symbol of what happens when grief is all you have left.
So it all comes down to this one final haunting question. Yeah, her body is walking around. And sure, her memories of betrayal are what's driving her. But if her soul, her mercy, her humanity, if all of that is gone, did Catelyn Stark really come back at all? Or is that thing haunting the Riverlands just her hate, wearing her dead body like a suit?